For a solid year, the frost on the mountain peaks was her only calendar. A year of tracking. A year of her hatred simmering. A year since her entire world had been stolen. Gralak, the orc warrior, had just one purpose left. A single, burning coal in the frozen landscape of her heart. Vengeance. She was hunting the man who had killed her mate, Borak. His name, Sir Kalen, was a curse on her tongue. Revenge was the only thing keeping her going. But when she finally found him huddled in a crude lean-to against the biting wind, he wasn't alone. Wrapped in stained but warm furs, he held a helpless infant, his son. In that moment, as the wind howled around them, her quest for revenge fractured. It forced a choice: the bloody vengeance she craved, or the innocent child of her most hated enemy. Gralak watched from the tree-lean, her hand resting on the worn, familiar grip of her axe. Every fiber of her being screamed to charge forward, to finally unleash the rage that had been her only companion. She saw Borak's face in her mind, his laughter silenced by Kalen's gleaming sword, a debt that had to be paid in blood. And yet, her eyes kept snapping back to the tiny bundle in the man's arms. Kalen looked gaunt, his armor was dented, and his face was carved with a desperate weariness she recognized. He was whispering to the infant, a soft sound the wind almost swallowed, trying to coax a few drops of water from a frozen canteen into the child's mouth. The warrior in her saw a weakened target. The grieving mate saw the man who had caused all her pain. But something else, something she hadn't felt in a year, saw a father protecting his son. The sight was a dagger to her heart, twisting the wound Borak had left. Before she could move, the menacing gray sky unleashed its full fury. A blizzard descended with unnatural speed, a white curtain that simply blinded the world. The wind shrieked, and a groaning crack echoed through the pass. Gralak looked up just in time to see a massive, snow-laden pine give way. It fell with a deafening roar, not toward her, but right toward the lean-to. Kalen's only instinct was to shield the child with his body. The impact was brutal. When the snow settled, there was only silence. Gralak crept forward, axe held low. Sir Kalen was gone, crushed beneath the tree in one final act of protection. And from under his still form, she heard it, a thin, terrified wail. The infant, alone. The mountain itself had stolen her vengeance, leaving behind this bitter, living proof of her failure. She could just leave him. The wilderness would finish the job. It was a kind of justice, wasn't it? But as she looked at the crying child, so small and so helpless, she didn't see the son of her enemy. She saw an orphan, just as the mountain had made her a widow. With a guttural sob that was part rage, part despair, Gralak reached down, shoved aside the splintered wood, and lifted the baby into her arms. Her quest for revenge was over. A new, terrifying journey was just beginning. The journey back to the Bloodfang Peaks was a different kind of trial. The child was a constant, screaming reminder of her failure. He was the son of the man she'd sworn to kill, and every time she looked at his small human face, the fire of her hatred burned. But that fire was now smothered by a more immediate need. The child was weak. He needed warmth. He needed to eat. She named him Ash, because he was all that was left of the fire of her revenge. Her skills as a warrior were useless here. She knew how to track a boar for miles, but not how to soothe a crying baby. She could dress a sword wound, but not find milk for a starving human infant. The first few days were a frantic, desperate struggle. She managed to hunt a mountain goat, spilling its life not for a warrior's meal, but for the milk in its udder, which she painstakingly collected. She chewed leather until it was soft enough for him to nurse from. She held the small boy against her own body for warmth through the long, frozen nights, his tiny breaths a fragile rhythm against her hardened heart. As she traveled, she stuck to the shadows, avoiding the main paths. She couldn't go back to her clan's main camp with a human child. They wouldn't get it. They'd see him as a spoil of war to be tossed aside, or worse, a symbol of her weakness. Borak's kin would demand the boy's life for their honor. So she made a new home in a hidden valley on the edge of her clan's territory, a place no one ever patrolled. Life fell into a new routine: hunt, forage, care for Ash. The war inside her raged on. She'd get flashbacks of Borak, of their life together, of the future they had planned. She would look at Ash and see only the man who destroyed it all. The hate would surge, and she'd have to physically walk away from him until the red mist cleared. But then, there were other moments. Moments that chipped away at the wall around her heart. One evening, as she stirred a thin broth, Ash, now a few months older, followed the spoon with his eyes. He gurgled, a small, happy sound, and then he smiled. It was the first time. It wasn't the smile of a human or an enemy. It was just the pure, unfiltered joy of a baby. It hit Gralloch with the force of a physical blow, cracking something deep inside her. Slowly, almost without her noticing, the way she saw him began to change. The label Kalen's son started to fade, replaced by the simple, undeniable reality of Ash, her boy. The real test came months later. A hunting party from her clan, led by a grizzled veteran named Korg, strayed from their usual path. Their deep voices echoed through her valley. Panic seized Gralloch. Ash was teething and had been fussy all morning. She snatched him up, her large hand clamping gently but firmly over his mouth, and dove into the deepest part of her cave. She held her breath, listening to the crunch of Orcish boots on the gravel just outside. Her heart hammered against her ribs, but it was a new kind of fear. It wasn't for herself. It was a terror so profound, so absolute, for the safety of the child in her arms, that it eclipsed everything else. In that moment of shared, silent fear, she knew. The thirst for vengeance had been washed away, replaced by a fierce, terrifying, and unconditional love for her son. 5 years passed. 5 years of a secret life, of a bond forged in total isolation. Ash grew into a strong, curious boy with his father's eyes but Gralloch's spirit. He learned to track rabbits and tell which roots were safe to eat. He didn't see the towering orc as a monster. He saw his entire world. His mother. He knew nothing else. Their hidden world was shattered on a crisp autumn afternoon. Gralloch was teaching Ash how to fletch a small arrow when shadows fell over them. She looked up, and her blood ran cold. It was War Chief Grommash, flanked by 2 of his most loyal warriors. His face was a mask of cold fury. He'd been tracking a rare snow leopard, and the trail had led him right to this forgotten valley. Gralloch, his voice was a low growl, rumbling with disbelief and rage. His eyes were locked on the small human boy now hiding behind her legs. What is this? What is this insult? Word spread like wildfire. The war chief had found Gralloch, and she had a human child. Within the hour, the entire clan gathered at the mouth of the valley. They formed a grim circle, their faces a mix of confusion, anger, and suspicion. Borok's brothers stood right at the front, their expressions promising violence. "You have sheltered the spawn of our enemy," Grommash declared, his voice booming. "The son of the man who took Borok from us. This is a stain on our honor. You will give us the boy. Borok's memory demands justice." He gestured for his guards to grab Ash. Gralloch moved in an instant, not with a warrior's rage, but with the unyielding certainty of a mother. She put herself between the guards and her son, a living shield. She didn't even draw her axe. "No," she said. Her voice was quiet, but it carried a weight that made even the war chief pause. She looked out at the faces of her clan, people she'd fought beside, people who had mourned with her. "For a year, all I hunted was the vengeance you talk about. It was the air I breathed, the only reason I lived. But the mountain took that from me, and it left me with him." She placed a hand on Ash's head. "I didn't see a human. I saw a child left to die. I didn't see the son of my enemy. I saw an orphan. Is our honor so fragile that we have to buy it with the life of a child? Is our strength only measured by the grudges we keep?" Her gaze met Grommash's. "Borok's memory isn't a weapon for you to swing around. His memory lives in my heart. It's a scar that will never fade. But this boy is my son. My honor isn't found in some old hatred. It's found in protecting him. If you want to take him, You will have to go through me. She stood her ground, unarmed but unbreakable. It wasn't a challenge of strength. It was a challenge of spirit. The clan was silent, torn between the rigid laws of vengeance and the raw power of a mother's love. The war chief was stunned into silence, not by a threat, but by the sheer force of her conviction. He didn't see weakness in her. He saw a different kind of strength, one he hadn't prepared for. In the crowd, many orcs shifted on their feet, their stony expressions softening. The mothers of the clan, especially, watched Gralloch with a new, dawning understanding. Then, an old voice cut through the tension. It was Griselda, the clan's eldest shaman, her face a roadmap of wrinkles. "There is an old way," she rasped, stepping forward. "A tradition from before the endless wars. A child of an enemy, raised as our own, is not a mark of weakness. It is a mark of our strength. It shows our clan is mighty enough to turn even the deepest hatred into a new beginning." Grommash looked from Griselda to Gralloch, then at the faces of his clan. He could see the tide had turned. Killing the boy now wouldn't look like justice. It would look like cruelty. He let out a long, slow breath, his shoulders slumping just a bit. "The boy lives," he announced, his voice lacking its earlier fire. He pointed a thick finger at Gralloch. "But he is your responsibility. His place among us isn't a gift. It must be forged. Don't make me regret this." Gralloch and Ash were brought back into the Bloodfawn clan. Their life, there was a quiet ripple in the deep waters of orc tradition. Gralloch was no longer just a warrior defined by her grief. She was Gralloch, mother of Ash, the orc who showed her people that mercy could be more powerful than revenge. Ash grew up with an orc's heart and a human's face, a living bridge between two worlds and a testament to a choice made in a snowstorm long ago. Years later, Gralloch would stand on a ridge overlooking the training grounds, watching Ash, now a strapping youth, hold his own against the other orc children. The scar from Barok's loss was still there, a dull ache on cold nights. But it was no longer a gaping wound. It had been healed over by something new, something fierce and beautiful. She had searched for the satisfaction of an ending, but instead was given the gift of a new beginning. She had proved that sometimes the greatest strength isn't found in avenging the past, but in raising the future. If this story of unexpected love and strength moved you, we'd love it if you subscribed for more tales from our world. Like the video to let us know you enjoyed it, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We have a question for you. Can true strength ever be found in letting go of vengeance? We can't wait to read your answers.